Steelers plus me not to show up Monday. Not dealing with it. Browns by 6, Brandon.
Ooh, this is a tough one for me. If I know Mike Tomlin is still going to try to get that second string group fired up and going to go win the game. I want to say the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I want to believe in Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, please get it done against Mason Rudolph. So I'm going to go with the Browns by 10.
That plea notwithstanding, get your picks in before the early games on Sunday for your chance to win a whole bunch of money. For much more information, you can always head to the Fox Sports app. All right, we are moving on. We're going to hit the NBA now. The Brooklyn Nets got back on track last night, beating the Hawks and avoiding an early 3-game slide. Kyrie played. He finished the game 33, 11, and 8. KD played. He went for 25. And so Chris Broussard is up playing with us this morning. Broussard, good morning. Good to see you. We're going to get to you in just a second. But, Nick, I want to start with you. Big game for both Kyrie and KD. Big win for this Brooklyn team. You starting to become a believer in the Nets after what you saw?
Jenna, I'm actually more concerned about the Nets right now than I was at the beginning of the year. And listen, I'm not going to, dwell on the defensive side of the ball. If Chris Broussard, 4 games in, was like, oh, Nick, #1 defense in basketball. And then the Hawks hang 140 on him. He's 68 in the first half, 73 in the second half. Because as it turns out, when you're not playing the Warriors, when you're not playing the Warriors anymore, and you got to actually D up, it gets a little tougher. But that's not my concern. My concern is I truly believe the Nets have a Kyrie Irving problem, whether they know it yet or not. Last night, when KD checked back into the game with around 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and KD and Kyrie were both out there, in that moment, Kyrie was 5 of 18 from the field. KD was 10 of 20. Was playing great. It was a close game. Can we show all of the shots KD got the rest of the fourth quarter? It shouldn't take long. This was a frustration shot with 1:20 left because he hadn't touched the ball in 5 minutes. And then he gets one more transition dunk to end the game. Now, I will show you all the shots Kyrie took in that same time span, but it's going to take so long that, Broussard, you're going to have to take over about halfway through here. And I know he made a lot of these shots, but these aren't good shots. These aren't sustainable shots, Broussard. And it is the trend we have seen through 5 games, 4 that they've both played, which is in the fourth quarter, Kyrie's taking the shots, man. And that cannot be how this team works, and it won't be how this team wins, Broussard. And so set the defensive side of the ball. They were in the beginning, but now keep watching. This is a great one where he gets bailed out on some phantom foul call, but you're going to see more. Broussard, I don't know why at the end of games they're not running offense. It's just Uncle Drew, do your best to cook. That's a good one right there. When KD had been playing great, but that's not a way you're going to win a championship. Here's another good one, Broussard, right there. Blame him.
Nick, KD, first of all, he did have 16 points in the fourth quarter. So 1 fewer than Kyrie. I'll give you, though, and look, with Kyrie's history, leaving LeBron, going to Boston, and things didn't go well there, I'm not going to sit here, as much as I like the Nets, and act like Kyrie, things couldn't go wrong with Kyrie. All right, that is a possibility. I think he'll be fine this year. I think they'll work things out. But, yeah, that certainly always has to be on the table. And I was watching last night's game at the end and thinking, he ain't even looking at KD. Like, it was unbelievable. He wasn't looking at anybody. KD was a role player. He was standing over at the wing watching, and you're right, that three-pointer at the end, that was a frustration. I was like, okay, it's my turn. I haven't touched the ball. Let me get a shot up. Where I disagree with you on is that those shots are good shots, most of them, and they are sustainable because Kyrie can get an open look anytime he wants. And he is a very good shooter. So he can make and take those shots whenever he wants. But you're right. You want to see more of a balance. Now, remember, the other night against Charlotte, KD did get the last shot. With 7 seconds left, he goes baseline and misses a short mid-range shot. So it's not like Kyrie's hogging the ball all the time and KD's not getting his. But, yeah, I want to see a little bit more balance between those two. But I think they'll work it out. They're very close friends, as we all know. I don't think it'll be a problem. But, yeah, it's something you just got to watch. Let me say this quickly. Let me say this quickly, too. It's clear, Nick, right? Kyrie's the leader of this team. I mean, he is the alpha. KD's the best player. We know that. But you watch, I mean, who gave Steve Nash the game ball? Who determined that? Who is, as you said, Nick, the guy with the ball in his hands, taking the shots? Kyrie has the more dominant and stronger personality, and they're going to have to, work through that.
You guys are wasting time talking about KD and Kyrie. Look, 58 points. That's what they do. But that's not what's going to help us win a championship, Nick. You're right. That's not the star. They're not the stars of the team. Our team is the star of the team. They score 58 points, but the bench score 87. So when you have this conversation about my Brooklyn Nets, you got to talk about Joe Harris. You got to talk about Jared Allen. You got to talk about Prince LeVert. That's who you got to talk about. That is the star of the team. So, Nick, you're talking about, they played against this team. They're not playing defense. They put up 145 points, and Kyrie and KD only score 58. That is a sign. That's a recipe for success. So, when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, you guys got to stop talking about KD and Kyrie because they're our role players. Talk about our bench. Talk about our other stars.
Brandon, can you put up the jersey again, please? Because although Brandon claims to be a huge Nets fan, it's actually his son's jersey. So don't think that Brandon just wears super tight jerseys to show off his muscles. Just the tightest jersey ever. Nick, to your point, you did a good job at showing all those Kyrie misses and a lot of good makes, too. After the game, Nash is like, he needed to get in rhythm. And Durant talked to Kyrie. When Durant was on the bench, he went over to talk to Kyrie. He's like, do your thing. He's like, all right, I'll start doing my thing. So how much of it is like, listen, Kyrie is a rhythm player. He needs to take some shots. He needs to take a lot of shots to get in rhythm, and that's why he had 17 points in the fourth, because he got to take a lot, and some of them are going to miss.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I understand. Listen, this wasn't a nationally televised game, and I think a large percentage of our audience didn't watch it. And if you didn't watch it, I think your impression is Nick is really trying to pick nits. Kyrie had 17 in the fourth quarter after being ice cold, and you're talking about why it's bad. I am being as earnest as I can be. If you watched it, Kyrie was so singularly focused on his offense, it looked like, Broussard, the games in Cleveland when LeBron would sit out. And it was like, hey, this is the only way we can score. And KD is just sitting there waiting. And when KD is coming from a place in Golden State which has the most equal opportunity offense we've ever seen in the league. In fact, that culture is so deep that Steph can't pull himself out of it when he's getting, instead of getting open shots for Clay and KD, it's Oubre and Wiggins, and they're clanging it off the side of the backboard. Like, it's got to be somewhat jarring to Durant. And I do wonder if that fourth quarter, you know what that shot Durant took, the one three-pointer he took, which was not a good shot, and I don't blame Durant. But you know what it reminded me of, Broussard? Some of the shots he would take in OKC when Russ was just going Russ. And he's like, you know what? I don't know when I'm going to touch the ball again, so I'm putting it up. And that's not when Durant's at his best. And I just really think that is something to watch, because last night was not the first night where Kyrie took way more shots in the fourth than Durant did.
It can be something to watch, for sure. Again, I think they'll work it out. I think they can talk it out. Durant can talk to Kyrie and correct him, reprimand him, and vice versa. So I think they'll get it worked out. But you're right. I was thinking, man, this kind of looks like OKC. The difference is Kyrie is a much better, more skilled scorer than Westbrook. Yep. Yes, I mean, those are not bad shots for Kyrie. They were open shots for the most part. He forced a few, but for the most part, those are open shots. These guys will work it out. But KD's got to be, he wasn't willing to tell Westbrook, give me the ball. He's got to tell Kyrie.
Talking about our role players.
He's got to do it.
Broussard, thank you very much.
It's all in on the bench mob.
They get along.
All in on the bench mob.
Why will this be a very relaxing weekend for Patrick Mahomes and not a very relaxing weekend for Nick Wright? We'll explain. Stick around. Broussard, thank you. Happy New Year.